everyone and welcome to today's video. Now today I'll be doing my F1 predictions, not only just for F1 but also for F2 and F3. There'll be no predictions though for the F1 Academy, considering that I guess this is the first proper year for the F1 Academy, now that they're going to be along with F1. So I don't really know a lot about F1 Academy, so we'll just ignore that and probably maybe I'll do one for next year. But this video, I'll only be talking about F3 and F2. So how this is going to work is that F3 and F2 will have 4 predictions, F1 will have the rest of the predictions to make it 15. So that's really about it. And first, start off with F3, and my first prediction for F3 is there'll be a total of 5 drivers will be championship contenders heading to Monza. The F3 field is stacked. Like drivers like Gabriele Mini, Dino Beganovic, Luke Browning, maybe totally not Leonardo Fenaroli. You can maybe even say Arvid. What's his name? Arvid Limbald. I'm pretty sure that's also another driver. Maybe even Sebastian Montoya for Campos Racing, or even Maria Boya. You can say many drivers that could actually be championship contenders, and I think there's going to be a total of 5 of them. I don't really know which ones, but there's definitely going to be quite a lot of drivers who have a possible chance of winning the championship in Monza, and I don't think it's going to be like last year where Gabriel Borletta just swiped the floor with everyone. I think this is going to be very competitive. My next prediction is about Genza Motorsports, and I think they will continue to impress in my opinion. Now, that's a bit of an interesting statement considering of the driver lineup that they have, like Charlie, Charlie Vert, Matthias Zagazeta, and Maxwell Esterson. But I think probably mainly Vert. I think he's going to impress quite a lot of people. That's also, well, mainly it's also because that Charlie Vert is obviously the father of a former F1 driver, Alex Verts, so that makes sense. I do think as well that Zagazeta might actually be pretty decent in my opinion. Esterson, I think he will continue to improve. I mean, he was in F3, I'm pretty sure, last year for a bit. He was like, he was kind of like back end of the field, but I'm pretty sure he was driving for Rodin, I'm pretty sure, but I might be wrong about that. But he's out with Genza, which is a bit of a better team, so I think they're going to impress. I think they're gonna be a bit competitive, definitely competing maybe for top 10s mainly, maybe for top 5s if they're lucky, but I think they're just gonna be pretty solid, and I think they're gonna be pretty good, and I think a lot of people will also get quite interested as well about this team as well, like they did last year, but that's mainly a little bit because of Taylor Barnard, who's now up in F2. Next up is I think there'll be 3 constructors who will be competing for the constructor championship, that being Prema, Trident, and High Tech. Prema, Trident, I mean, they make sense considering that those 2 are basically the powerhouse of F3. Trident could maybe actually fall off a bit. I mean, they have a pretty weird lineup, which they were alright, I'll be honest, during testing, but I'm mainly looking at High Tech and Luke Browning. He impressed me a lot last year, and I think he's going to continue that. The Williams Academy driver, he was really good, incredibly consistent. He's just had a lot of bad luck in some type. So I think Browning, he's definitely going to put High Tech on his back, and I think he's going to impress quite a lot of people. So I'm excited to see if this actually does come true, if it is going to be those 3 constructors who are competing for the championship, or if it's going to be another constructors. I have no idea, but I think the constructor championship is going to be pretty like competitive, we'll say. Very competitive. And my champion for F3 is Gabriele Mini. I think he is going to be champion of the world for F3. Why? Because he has been steadily improving. I mean, last year was also his first year in F3. He was actually pretty good. I think he was mainly like top 5, top 6 even, and I think he's going to take that next step with Prema Racing. I mean, I remember he was actually pretty decent, I'm pretty sure, in Macau. He was actually really competitive there. So I think he's going to continue that. He's going to be impressive. He's going to beat up drivers like Beganovic, like Browning, maybe even Montoya if they're lucky, or even Garthy. But I think Gabriele Mini, I think he's going to stand on top, and I do hope that he wins the championship, because obviously he's not only my pick, but he has a lot of talent behind him. So Gabriel Mini is my man to win the championship. Let's now move over now to F2, and I think the new car for F2 will come out swinging. I mean, the main thing that obviously of the new car is that massive ass rear wing. But I think that this car is going to be really fun to watch, especially as we get into Bahrain. It's a new car. Basically, everyone is now back in a level playing field. It's new for everyone. It's foreign to everyone. So it's going to be weird to see like other teams. I don't know, like PHM for example, PHM AIX Racing to be really competitive, and they could probably be battling with the rest, and we may even get a couple new winners as well for the car. I think it's gonna be really fun to watch, and even though it may be a bit ugly, especially the rear part with that rear wing, I think people are gonna be like, okay, this is kind of actually alright. So I think the new car is going to be really, really good at Bahrain, and even as well for the rest of the season as well. Next up is, I think there's going to be 6 to 7 drivers will be championship contenders heading to Abu Dhabi. This is how stacked the F2 field is. You have like O'Sullivan, Martins, Antonelli, Behrman. Who else do we have? Like Kushmini could be really good. Ratomo Miata, Zane Maloney even. Taylor Barnard, possibly. Gabriel Bortoletta, the F3 champion. There are so many drivers in the F2 field that could actually be competitive and could also win the championship, in my opinion. Like, it's going to be a season to remember, I'll be honest, in 2024 for the F2 season, just because there's so many great talent coming into this field. So I am really, really excited to see how the F2 field goes. Next up now is, I have Ratomo Miata. Will probably actually impress. I mean, he's a Super Formula champion for a reason, right? Obviously, he does have backing information with like Toyota Gazoo Racing or something, and that car actually does look pretty good. But I think Miata, with his experience with Super Formula, I think he's going to impress quite a lot of people. I'm pretty sure his teammates are Zane Maloney, I believe, so he could actually be pretty good. So we'll just have to see how Miata goes, but I expect some good things from him. Maybe some very ballsy overtakes, let's say that for sure. But Miata, I have high hopes for him. I think he's going to do pretty well. He may get maybe a couple wins, maybe like maybe 1, 2, 3 wins, maybe we'll say, in the season. So we just have to wait to see how he goes. And my champion for F2 is Andrea Kimi Antonelli. I mean, anything that this kid touches wins instantly. I mean, he's immediately competitive. I'm pretty sure I saw something as well that he was like a second or 2 seconds faster than like the F3 field, which makes sense why he would skip the F3 series. I mean, it's kind of just it's not really needed. I mean, he needs to take that step to F2. So considering of his past and that he just wins and everything that he gets in, I think he's going to be a champion. Like I said before, it's going to be very, very competitive with 6 to 7 drivers possibly being contenders for Abu Dhabi. I think he's going to be one of them, and I think he's going to prevail against all of them, and I think he's going to be winning the championship. Now let's move over now to F1, and my first prediction is, unlike last year where it was just dominated by Red Bull, I think McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes will grab at least 1 win each. Why? Because I generally think that it's going to be, I mean, okay, to be fair, the Red Bull from last year was just unstoppable. I mean, the only thing that could actually stop Red Bull was themselves. But I think from the development that we saw from McLaren and Ferrari and Mercedes always just being up there at the top end of the field, I think they're going to learn some stuff from last year, and I think they're going to improve massively, and I think they're going to be incredibly competitive. Now Ferrari, I mean, even though it looks beautiful, it is also pretty fast. And McLaren was also really good in preseason testing. Mercedes, on the other hand, they struggled a bit, but I still think they're going to grab a win at some point if there is any bad juju, or bad luck I should say, from any other team. So, like, obviously yes, Red Bull will win the majority of the races, but I think there's going to be some races where like McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes will be competitive and they will actually challenge Red Bull for a win. Next up is maybe one of the worst naming teams at Visa, Cash App RB, or VCarb is how people are going to say it. I think they're going to be a solid midfield team from what we've seen from preseason testing, they were actually pretty good and they have improved massively. And also that I guess it's also like a bit of like more like a link relationship between VCarb and Red Bull, and that could definitely help them to, you know, upwards their team. For them to be where were they, like 8th place in the constructors last year to now being 5th or even 6th even in midfield. So I have high hopes for them. I mean, Ricciardo and Tsunoda, both of them are very capable drivers, and both of them are also chasing for that Red Bull seat that could actually be one of theirs if Perez doesn't perform well. So we just have to wait and see how V Cup goes, but I have quite high hopes for them. Another team I have high hopes for is Williams. I think they will continue the upwards trajectory. I mean, last year was an absolute amazing season for Alexander Albon. I mean, he was grabbing points left, right, and center, and was just surprising everyone. Logan Sargent, yes, it was his rookie season, but he kind of got pummeled by Oscar Piastri. And I think Sargent is going to improve from that. I mean, obviously last year was just the start of his F1 season, so he was obviously struggling, which makes sense. But I think this year he's going to flick that switch. There we go, flick that switch. And I think he's going to do really, really well. He's going to be competitive against Alexander Albon, unlike last year, where I'm pretty sure he got out qualified by him like every single race. So I think he's going to improve his qualifying. I think he's also going to improve his race as well, his racecraft as a whole. I mean, he is a capable driver. I think I'm pretty sure he finished 3rd in the F2 championship as well. So he is a really, really good driver. He can obviously compete with one of the best, but he just needs time. He just needs time to, you know, get used to F1, get used of how it works, and then I think he'll be a great driver, and I think he's going to improve this year to help Williams continue the upwards trajectory in the field. But a driver who I think is going to struggle is Lance Stroll. Now, you may call me a Lance Stroll hater, but last year was a very inconsistent season for Stroll, like he always is. He's always inconsistent as hell. And considering that there was rumors about him retiring from F1 to play tennis, is really saying something, which is probably not true, but I just have a feeling that Lance Stroll is just not going to improve. Even though that car is capable of getting onto podiums like what Fernando Alonso showed last year, but I just don't see that happening for Stroll. And considering as well that I'm pretty sure like some sponsors are basically telling Lawrence that if Stroll doesn't improve, you need to kick him. His seat in Aston Martin is not going to be safe. So there's so much pressure on him that I think he may get overwhelmed. I mean, Williams in 2017, there was some pressure coming into the season with him being a new rookie, and he was actually pretty decent. He was pretty good. But ever since that, he kept going down. Because 2018, I mean, that was just Williams being Williams. But like 2019 was a decent season. 2020 was a really good season. 2021 was a crappy season. We'll say 2022 was pretty bad. 2023 was just up and down, up and down, up and down. Like start of the season was good. Middle of the season was absolutely dog shit, and the end of the season was maybe one of the best we've ever seen from Stroll. So I just think he's just going to struggle though, because I just don't see him really liking F1. He doesn't really enjoy it, but I may be wrong. We just have to wait to see how that goes. And McLaren, let's talk about McLaren now, as I think both of their drivers will get their first win. I don't count the sprint race as a freaking win. That's not an actual win in my books. A win is obviously a feature race, a main race. That is a main win. So considering that both of them are still winless, quote unquote, for Piastri, both of them are very capable. I mean, both of them got podiums after podiums when that car improved, and I think they're going to continue that. I mean, Norris, he's been trying to get a win since 2019. Piastri has already gotten a win in the sprint race for Qatar, but he just needs to now basically connect that into a main feature race. So we just have to wait to see how the McLaren goes. McLaren were pretty competitive during preseason testing, like I mentioned beforehand, and I think they could actually be competitive as well against Red Bull in some races as well. I mean, could they maybe be competitive in Qatar? We'll say. I'm not really too sure, but obviously, I do think both those drivers will get their first win, and it will be a very popular one amongst their fans. Norris, and Piastri. I think both of them are going to get the first win. So we'll see how that goes. Next up is Fernando Alonso. As I think he'll be close to winning, but will just come out short, like he did many times last year. I don't think he's going to get that win. I generally don't think so. I mean, considering that Aston Martin, they are a bit behind on the pecking board as preseason, like during preseason testing, I'll say. So I don't really have a lot of faith in Aston Martin, but literally we know how great Alonso is. I think he's still gonna get some podiums, but I just don't really see him getting that elusive win that has been there since he joined Aston Martin last year. I mean, he was close multiple times last year, yes, but I just don't see that happening here, considering of how they were running preseason testing. And I think Aston Martin is taking a bit of a step back, we'll say. So, but I mean, I might be wrong. We'll see if Alonso is competitive and somehow wins. But yeah, I just don't really see that. Happening though. My final prediction is yes, I think Max Verstappen is gonna be champion of the world. Yes, bloody yada yada. But I think it's gonna be closer. I think Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, he's going to push him. I mean, Hamilton, yes, is leaving Mercedes to go to Ferrari, but that doesn't mean that Hamilton is going to continue to try his best. Yes, the Mercedes is pretty good. It actually is alright, obviously, I will say. I think they actually were slower than McLaren, I'm pretty sure, in preseason testing. But with the experience that Hamilton has, I think he's going to definitely push Verstappen. But the driver who's mainly going to push him is Charles Leclerc. Both of them have been racing each other since very young. They know how they drive and all this stuff. And I'm putting my money on that Ferrari is going to put all the eggs in Leclerc's basket so he can improve and compete for the championship. While I still think Verstappen is going to absolutely demolish the field, Leclerc is still going to be there to capitalize on his mistakes. So there's going to be a lot more pressure on Red Bull to actually be competitive. Well, I guess not to be competitive, but also to be winners and to be victorious in a race, while Ferrari are going to continue to put the pressure onto Red Bull for them to perform. So we just have to wait to see how that goes. But Verstappen's gonna be champion, but Leclerc and Hamilton, they are going to push him. So that's really about it from me. Those are my predictions, and I'll have a look at them at the end of the season to see if I'm right or incredibly wrong. So that's really about it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Catch you guys next time in the next one. Goodbye.